There are things you once said without rehearsing. Things you loved, without wondering how they looked to others. Opinions you shared before you learned to check the room first. And somewhere along the way, you became more careful. You learned when to speak. When to stay quiet. What to show, and what to keep hidden. Not because you were pretending. You were learning how to belong. We all adapt. A child learns which emotions are welcomed, and which ones make people uncomfortable. A teenager learns which interests earn approval, and which ones invite judgment. An adult learns what version of themselves is easier to accept, at work, among friends, even with the people they love. Little by little, we begin editing ourselves. We soften an opinion. Hide an insecurity. Laugh when everyone else laughs. Say, "I'm fine," because explaining the truth feels exhausting. And most of the time, these changes seem small. Necessary, even. But when we repeat them long enough, something strange can happen. At first, we know we're adjusting ourselves. We know there are things we're not saying, parts of ourselves we're keeping hidden. But eventually, the edited version becomes familiar. We become good at knowing what people expect from us. Good at being agreeable. Good at appearing confident. Good at presenting a life that makes sense from the outside. And slowly, we stop asking whether the person we're presenting is still the person we are. Maybe that's why some people can have a life that looks perfectly fine, and still feel strangely absent from it. They have responsibilities. Relationships. Achievements. People who know their name. And yet, somewhere beneath all of that, there is a quiet distance. A distance between the life they are living, and the person they once knew themselves to be. Not everything we change is a betrayal of who we are. Growing requires change. Maturity asks us to become more thoughtful. Life teaches us to compromise. But compromise is different from disappearance. And perhaps the question worth asking is not, have I changed? Of course you have. The question is, what have I changed because I genuinely grew, and what have I abandoned simply because it was easier to be accepted? What do you believe, when nobody is waiting for the right answer? What matters to you, when nobody is watching? When was the last time you chose something simply because it felt true to you, and not because it made you easier to understand? Maybe becoming yourself again doesn't begin with changing your entire life. Maybe it begins with noticing. Noticing where your words no longer feel like your own. Where your choices are made mostly for approval. Where you keep performing, long after the audience has gone home. Because sometimes, the person we need to meet again is not someone new. It is the person we quietly left behind. And perhaps, recognizing that distance, is where the courage to be real begins. But staying true to ourselves is only part of the struggle. What happens when appearances become so common, that being genuine begins to look strange? That's what we'll explore, in Thursday's Clarity Check.